But first, in 1 week's time, the enhanced JobKeeper and JobSeeker supplements are due to end. The Prime Minister has declared that it can't go on forever. Now, I respect this point of view. But if that's the logic behind his decision-making, we still shouldn't be ending them now. For instance, if you work in tourism, government regulations mean that we're not taking international tourists. Now, fair enough, I don't want to argue with health advice, but that sector has 20% less jobs now than it had pre-pandemic. If you work in hospitality, there are around 300,000 fewer jobs than before the virus, with a similarly large drop in higher education, in retail, as well as the arts and media. This isn't just another economic downturn with drops in consumer confidence and business sentiments. Many of these reductions have been caused explicitly by government policies. It's simply not fair to say to the hotel worker, the chef, the hostie, get on the unemployment line when it's the government that's closing their businesses and stopping their customers from coming. Now, I work at Vinnie's, and a large part of what we do is help families and individuals who are in crisis. The single biggest item that we help them with is food. But a funny thing happened during COVID. During the April to June quarter in 2020, when the government increased JobSeeker, when things were at their worst, we experienced a 75% drop, a drop in assistance compared to the same time the previous year. Think about that for a second. This is the first recession we've had in my adult life, and calls for assistance to a major charity all but dried up. The government deserves our congratulations. They deserve to be praised for this. The worst aspects of recession, the family breakdowns, the domestic violence, the mental anguish, the suicides, all of which are common hallmarks of recessions, were never fully experienced here. Now, I understand this, I beg your pardon, I started this piece arguing that there will come a time to end these subsidies, and that time will come soon enough. The economy is strengthening, the vaccine is being rolled out, and the real-world data from the trials is remarkably good. But with all of these positive signs, we would be snatching defeat from the jaws of victory if we were to stop these payments next week. Karina, what do you think? Are you going to back in the government's line or back in sensible economics?
Look, the government's initiative to introduce JobKeeper has been a fantastic success in terms of saving us from what could have been a protracted recession and possibly a depression. We haven't experienced the same things that other countries across the world have in terms of our economy, loss of jobs, etc. But we have seen 94% now of people who lost their jobs or had their hours reduced to zero return to work. It's been a year now since we've been experiencing this pandemic. Jobs where they've had to take up JobKeeper have had to also adapt during this time. And the sad reality is that if they haven't been able to return to the same levels as they did before the pandemic in terms of requiring staff, maybe those adaptations that they've had to make mean that those staff or those kinds of jobs that they were employing people for no longer exist or are varied. That is a sad reality that has to be faced up to. What the government is doing now is looking to try to incentivise, essentially provide a JobKeeper program, JobMaker, in areas like apprenticeship programs to try and encourage people to take up apprenticeships so that the jobs of the future, the focus on reinvigorating our manufacturing sector, can be realised. Also promoting people to move to the regions where there are jobs. Jobs are there, and the reality is that people need to look to taking up those jobs if there is, clear evidence that the jobs that they had prior to the pandemic are no longer there to be had.
Steve, what do you think? You're the mayor of a Western Sydney city.
Look, I think it's time that JobKeeper did cease. The sad reality is we're now a year on from COVID. We're going to have a successful rollout of the vaccine, and we're billions of dollars into debt. If people can't be retrained or put into other areas of work, our great-grandkids are going to pay for this. And also, on top of that, we're starting to develop some laziness, whereas people don't want to go back to work because of they're receiving JobKeeper. I've seen it with some people I know. Young adults that are working in pools and other areas have refused shifts because they say they're better off being on JobKeeper for the week.
Look, I hear the point, and Liz, I'm sure you're going to jump in furious agreement with me. But surely, if we're still closing down international borders to tourists, surely we can say that if you're a hostie, an international hostie, if you work in a hotel in Sydney that's got 90% reductions over the Easter period at a normal period, surely this is a special category. Liz, help me out here.
It is a special category, and we have seen the government make certain allowances. They've been trying to give certain bonuses in the tourism sector.
In regional New South Wales, in regional Australia.
Yes, but I think it's disingenuous to suggest that this support is going to be reefed out from under these people. The government has always been a safety net for people in need and will continue to be so going forward. And as Karina's already covered off, those that are still in need, that's why they've got JobMaker. They are cognizant of the fact that some people, the industries that you've named exactly, they are going to need reskilling. That it will not do to sit on welfare payments going, I'm just going to wait till my industry gets back to normal and my job opens up again, because for some of these, that is literally never going to happen now. So I agree the government should roll this back. I would have liked to have seen it slightly sooner. It's the only way that we're going to find out what
you want to see it roll back sooner.
What businesses are zombie businesses and where we need to pour more support in. So it's only once they take away this massive safety net that they've created, like I say, there's one underneath, that they will know what to do going forward. But right now we do have JobMaker, we do have normal welfare payments that people who don't have incomes, who don't have jobs can avail themselves of. Over a third of our federal budget is welfare. We are a very lucky country.
Well, hold on. It is welfare. The vast majority of that welfare is the pension. It's the age pension.
I'm just saying we don't sell people short here. If they need a go, they get a go. They really do. If someone comes to the government and says, I don't have an income, I don't have a job,
I completely agree.
Especially at a time like now, there's several avenues available to them that they can. The government isn't saying to these people, get stuffed, you're on your own now. We live in a very lucky country and that's never the case. So I think it's disingenuous to put it across that way. And also these are individuals who have known for a very long time that this is coming. It's not like a government announced yesterday that this was going to be gone in a week. No, they've even rolled it out for many months forward. So people have known for a very long time this safety measure wasn't going to be there. It's not permanent. It wasn't for always. And now's the time to reskill, look for a different, if you're in those industries that have been hit hardest, as you've explained.
Steve, you were trying to jump in there, mate?
Yeah, I agree. And at the end of the day, the realities are, the Australian taxpayer shouldn't have to keep footing the bill for the incompetence of people like Dan Andrews, Anastasia Palaszczuk and Mark McGowan that saw fit to close down their states at the drop of a hat and cause great suffering and distress to these businesses and the rest of their residents and population.
Look, it is a very sad thing for people to have to face up to the reality that may well need to post JobKeeper, that their job is no longer going to be in existence or no longer required, given the adaptations businesses have had to make, the realities they've had to face up to during the pandemic. But continuing JobKeeper could well be just delaying the inevitable. It is far more realistic, far more kind to encourage people to seek out jobs where there are jobs. There are certainly jobs in our regions. And, the regions are crying out for more people to come and work there. And hence the campaign that the government is entering into at the moment, trying to encourage people to move out to the regions to pick up those jobs that are there. But people hanging on and hoping to retain their employment in an area where there won't be any once JobKeeper ends, it is just delaying the inevitable, and it's unfair to them because the reality is they will need to look elsewhere for work at some point in time.